Hey everyone, I'm Alex. Thanks for clicking. You are learning English with engVid. Today we are talking about would. What makes this video different? Well, you will participate. Number one, I will explain the different uses of would. Number two, I will ask you to listen and repeat the questions and the statements that I make in this video. And number three, I will ask you some questions that you don't see on the board or ask you to complete some sentences that you don't see on the board so that you can actively participate and actively improve your English. So let's begin. First of all, would is used when we want to create some mental distance between us and what we are discussing. There is always the idea of possibility or probability when we talk about would. It's in an imagined reality, a possible space, okay? So let's start with usage number one, polite offers. Look at these sentences. Would you like a drink? Would you prefer tea or coffee? As you can see, to make offers, the common structures are would you like and would you prefer. You don't have a drink now. You don't have tea or coffee now. So would you like this or would you prefer this? These are the structures that you use. So repeat after me. Would you like a drink? Would you prefer tea or coffee? Good. Now, I want you to finish this sentence. Alex, would you like? Yes, I would like that. Thank you. Number two, you can use would to talk about preferences. So, for example, I would love a glass of wine. Or, how would you like your coffee? So when you talk about preferences, you can use I would love, I would like. Again, we're using would like, we're using would love in this case too. So let me see here. Yes, let me ask you this question right after I ask you to repeat. So repeat after me. I would love a glass of wine. How would you like your coffee? Okay, so you're asking about how they would prefer their coffee or if they would like a glass of wine, or this person would love one. Okay, imagine we are at a restaurant and I am your waiter, your server. So I'm going to ask you about your coffee and I want you to answer my question in a complete sentence. How would you like your coffee? Perfect. Next, you can use would for polite requests. For example, would you pass me a knife, please? Would you mind babysitting this afternoon? So as you can see, in this case, would you pass? It's much more common to say, can you pass me? Could you pass me? But would is also possible if you want to sound a little more polite. Also, if you know the phrase, would you mind is, well, it means, is it a problem for you? Would it be okay? One thing to note about would you mind, we always need an object. And if you use like a verb, this is a gerund in this case, you need verb plus ing. So would you mind babysitting this afternoon? Okay. Imagine we are at the dinner table. I want you to ask me to pass you something. So say, Alex, would you pass me Yes, no problem. Here you go. Also, repeat after me. We forgot that step. Repeat, please. Would you pass me a knife, please? Would you mind babysitting this afternoon? Good. Now, remember I said that there is a mental distance, a hypothetical nature to the use of would in English. So we can use would for present or future hypotheticals. This is the second conditional. Okay, so if you want to learn more, we have lots of videos on the second conditional and after the third conditional as well. So first, listen to these. I wouldn't do that if I were you. And how would you do it? Okay, now you repeat after me. I wouldn't do that if I were you. How would you do it? Excellent. Now I want you to answer this question for me. What would you do if you had more free time? Okay. Me? If I had more free time, uh, I would I would read more, actually. If I had more free time, I would read more. All right, next. So these are present and future hypotheticals, right? I wouldn't do that if I were you. I am not you. How would you do it, right? You can't do it. I have to do it. But how would you do it? We can also use past hypotheticals. This is the third conditional use of would. So we have these examples. I would have called if I'd had your number. So if I'd had means if I had your number. I didn't have your number, but if I had your number, after if, in the if clause for third conditionals, we must use the past perfect. And also, we would have hated to see you leave. Okay, so this person decided to stay at their job. They didn't quit. So you tell them, I'm happy you didn't leave. We would have hated to see you leave. So here in the third conditional, would have plus past participle. Would have plus past participle is a common structure. So let me ask you a question. Right now, you are studying English. Which language would you have studied if you hadn't started studying English? And if you need to pause the video or rewind because that's a long question, please feel free as we continue, before we continue with 5 more uses. Let's go. Next, we have the future in the past and reported speech. So I have put these two together because they both use will and then change it to would when you're speaking about something in the present that happened or was said or was thought in the past. So, for example, I didn't think they would win. Or, you said you would help me, right? So, I didn't think they would win. So, if I go back to the past and the game is not finished yet, maybe I thought at that time, oh, I think they will win, or I don't think they will win. In this case, I don't think they will win. They did win. Now it's the present. I didn't think they would win. They won. I didn't think they would win. And here, you said you would help me. I will help you. I said this. And then we are reporting later, hey, you said you would help me. Now, I am going to say something and I want you to tell me what I said. Here is my sentence. I will see you later. What did I say? So I said I would see you later. Okay. Next, you can use would for past repeated behaviors. This is similar to used to, except used to you can also use for past states, things that were true before. Would really emphasizes the repetition of a behavior. So, for example, he would smoke while riding his bike. Or, my mom would take me out for ice cream on Fridays. So he would smoke when he rode his bike. This is one of the behaviors that he repeated all the time when I knew him as a kid. On Fridays after school, my mom would take us for ice cream. She would take me for ice cream. So repeat after me. And actually, we're going to repeat 4 sentences here. We'll start with these. Repeat. He would smoke while riding his bike. My mom would take me out for ice cream on Fridays. And we missed these. Repeat after me. I didn't think they would win. You said you would help me. Okay, great job. So now I want you to tell me, what would you normally do after school when you were a kid? What would you usually do? Me, I would usually go home and play with my friends. So I would often play street hockey. So if you're not from Canada or parts of the US too, or other parts of the world too, maybe you don't know what street hockey is. Just Google street hockey, Hockey, street hockey. All right. Also, you can use this would to talk about past habits with always and never to emphasize the frequency or infrequency of a past behavior or a past habit. Um, these habits, these behaviors are often negative. So when we want to complain about someone's past behavior, we can use he would always, she would never, they would always, for example. So listen to me. He would always lie. She would never clean up after herself. To clean up after yourself means to clean your mess after you have made a mess. So repeat after me. He would always lie. She would never clean up after herself. Okay, good. It can be positive, right? So, for example, imagine you're talking about your friend Brad. And Brad, he always raised his hand in class. He always knew the answer. You can say, Brad would always know the answer. Right? So, like, that's a positive, unless you say it in a negative way. Brad would always know the answer. It really annoyed me how Brad always knew the answer. Okay, so tell me something that you would always do when you were younger. It can be negative, it can be positive, and if you don't want to talk about yourself, tell me about your sister, your brother, your dad, your mom, your cousin. Not too personal, but maybe leave me a comment. He would always, she would always, or I would never. Go ahead. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. So, what is something you would always do, or someone you know would always do, or would never do? Okay. Tell me in the comments too. Next, polite suggestions. So, in this case, we use would with the verbs often with suggest and recommend. You can use I would advise you to, other verbs. but I just put suggest and recommend as they are the two most common. So for example, I would suggest that you try calling them again tomorrow. Or would you recommend asking for a raise? Right? So here we have that mental distance. It's like, listen, I'm not you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm making a suggestion. I would suggest, right? My suggestion is here. I'm not directing you to do it. I would suggest that you try calling them again tomorrow. Would you recommend? All right, so repeat after me. Let's try these sentences. I know it's a long one, so take your time. I would suggest that you try calling them again tomorrow. And the next one, would you recommend asking for a raise? A raise is an increase in your salary at a job. Okay, so I have a question for you. Where would you suggest I go if I wanted a cheap lunch in your area, right? So if I wanted to have a good but cheap lunch, where would you suggest? Which restaurant would you suggest? Okay. So you can say, I would suggest that you go to, or I would suggest the restaurant, or I would suggest going to a particular restaurant. Many possible structures with suggest. Finally, we can use would to show uncertainty or to make things a little softer. Again, this mental distance from the situation is really emphasized here. So uh, that would be difficult to say, right? Like, I'm not sure how to answer your question, or I'm not sure if that is something that could happen. Um, I would hope so, right? So is Deborah coming? Right? Is Deborah coming to the wedding? I would hope so. I'm not sure. I'm being soft with this. I would hope so. That would be difficult to say. So repeat these after me. That would be difficult to say. I would hope so. Okay. And finally, tell me, what is something that would be difficult to do? And it could be for you, or you think for me. So you can say, Alex, it would be difficult to. What is something that would be difficult? I don't know why I'm standing like this, but I feel powerful. Okay. So those are 10 ways that you can use would. I hope you have learned how to differentiate the different uses. Remember, there's always a mental distance between you and the situation when you use would. So there's always like one step to the left or one step to the right. And if you would like to test your understanding of would and all of the uses we covered today, go to the quiz on engvid.com. It is attached to the description to this video if you are watching this outside of engVid. Okay? So until next time, good luck with your studies. Keep studying, keep learning, keep practicing. See you soon.